2023, I retired. When I bought this house, there was a 24 by 36 garage, and I had to do all my woodworking out of the back end of the garage. As you can see, I got a lot of little toys. I have a little forge, the engine hoist and shop crane that I've got I had to get when I bought my lathe because I needed a way to lift it, to assemble it, and to move it. So the back end of the garage here had the majority of the tools, which you'll see in a moment. Basically, I do all my fabrication. I have a sharpening station here. Welding I do in the back end of the garage. I recently built a shave horse, and in the process of trying to forge a draw knife out of a lawnmower blade. It's been really hot lately, and it's been hard to justify firing up the forge because of the extreme heat. So this garage door was originally here, and this is the workshop edition, which was done in May of 2023. This gas pump that I built, I bought the plastic parts, the front and the top, on eBay, and what it is a battery charging station for all of my utility batteries. I bought a used Mark V Shopsmith, mounted it on the wall, and that's my dedicated drill press, mortising tool, and drum sanding tool. I built this little table to rotate when I need it, so it has a combination of router table and a small bandsaw for doing intricate work. You may notice in the pictures, I found these lights online on Amazon. They're LED lights, plug-ins. They have a strong magnet. They were like $17 for two of them, and I have them on almost all of my tools. So my workhorse bandsaw is my Grizzly here. It's a 17-inch bandsaw. I built a circle jig that's expandable, and that has come in handy for a number of projects. I have an 8-inch joiner. It's a Cutec. It is a spiral cutting head, and I've had really good use out of it, and it's been very reliable. Here you can see some wood stock that I have, walnut, cherry, maple, mahogany. Behind it is a form I use to pour a river table. I covered my main workbench with a laminate top, and it's worked out pretty well because what I find is I can easily scrape finishes, epoxy, and drip off glue off the top of the bench top. I use a card scraper with a little bit of liquid just to wetten it, and I typically, when I get finished doing that, I'll coat it with an automotive wax, and that seems to prevent things from sticking to it. This is a decompression pot that I use to extract the bubbles from epoxy before I pour it. It's been very helpful. I have an upstairs that we use for storage, and underneath the stairway I've constructed a place to store all of my clamps so they're out of the way. My vacuum system is based on a Harbor Freight vacuum system. I've had it for 2 years now. I run it a lot, and what I will use it for is, you can see here on the inlet, there's a port here that I plug a hose into, and I attach that to my orbital sander, and so I will run it for quite a bit. You can see the cyclone collector, and then I have a plastic barrel beneath. Instead of the bag, I put a MER filter onto the output. And for the little bit of dust that makes it through the system, I saw this online. I put a wooden piece underneath, and this barrel actually screws in, and the minimal stuff that falls through lands in there, and I can dump that out periodically. One of the side benefits I hadn't thought about is when I take the barrel off, I can look up inside and actually reach up there with a shop vac and clean the filter, and I've got an extended time out of the filters because of that. I have a miter saw station. Because of limited size in the shop, I put it on a little smaller cart, but it's worked quite well for me. I can roll it out and move it. On several items, I own my anvil stump, the station with the band saw, and the router table. I have used these collapsible wheels, the casters. They're Wen, and they're like around $25. They're really not very expensive at all. So one of the main pieces that I do a lot of work on is my lathe. I was able to get a Powermatic lathe. It is a workhorse. I can't say enough about this particular lathe. One of the features I liked, I looked at a one-way lathe, which is an excellent lathe. They're similarly priced, but the headstock on the Powermatic will slide all the way to the far end, and I have a accessory here that I can move the headstock down to the end and then swing it out of the way. And if I'm doing a large bowl, or I can then move the headstock all the way down to the end of the bed, and it's much easier to work on. I have another Cutec planer. It's a 13-inch, and again, spiral head cutter. Works very well. I've had really good luck with it. While I'm thinking about it, so I put a dust collection system, which is really inexpensive. This is the track for like a closet door, and this is some of the hardware from that, and I just mounted a PVC pipe, and then when I'm sanding, I can evacuate the sawdust out of the way with this particular unit. So it's movable. I actually put in 2 tracks so I can move the unit farther away or closer to the work that I'm doing. And that hose actually will come loose in a second, and I can put it on the belt sander on my Shopsmith. So I have a Mark 7 that predominantly right now I use for a sanding station. I have both the disc and the belt sander hooked up. It was my lathe until I kind of surpassed the capabilities of the Shopsmith lathe. But it's a great tool. I also use it for my dados. I had a dado stack and the table insert, so rather than purchasing another set for the saw stop, I do the dadoing on the Shopsmith. I don't do enough really to warrant buying a separate brake, etc. for the saw stop. I have an inexpensive scroll saw, and then I have a table with my assorted sanding discs. When we built this shop, I made sure it was adequately wired. I have 6 220 outlets, and I have regular 110 outlets every couple of feet. The vacuum system is an overhead. I also, over each one of my work areas, suspended a shelf with measuring and marking tools, and that has been extremely useful for when I'm working. My centerpiece here is my saw stop. I bought the saw stop table, the extension table, and it will flop down if I need to work on the back side of the workbench. But I put wood inserts into it and the tracks so that I can slide a crosscut sled all the way across. I built a crosscut sled. I have suction here. this accessory is a saw stop accessory, and it was to plug into an adapter on the back of the saw stop where the 4-inch vacuum line attaches. But I found that the vacuum was inadequate, so I've hooked it up to a standard shop vac that sits there. So the main vacuum system draws underneath from the saw stop and then from the top from my shop vac, and that's worked out pretty well. Overall, it's tight. I don't have a lot of extra room in here, but I've made, I think, the best use of it. This is a diagonal taper jig that I made that can clamp a workpiece. Here I was making some stays for a little bucket that I made, and this was just a stop, so I put the piece there, and it was really nice. Once I clamp it down, I can just slide the jig and not have to worry about the piece moving at all. So, hope you enjoyed the tour, and hope that gives you some ideas for your own.